The date is January 16th in the year 2017. I'm Alex Ansary, coming to you from off the grid on a hill in southwest Colorado. We're going to talk about the links that I've discovered that I've played out in my own life between men going their own way, also known as MGTOW, and the off-grid movement. They are linked. However, a lot of the commentators in the MGTOW movement seem to keep their topics very limited, and they almost seem to play their role in the gender warfare without actually looking at social engineering, without actually looking at how some of these urban environments, constant exposure to the women of our day and age that are basically advertising what they're not selling, or maybe they are. And so the reality is, if you are going to be constantly exposed to certain things that aggravate you, your topics are going to be centered on that which upsets you. If you really want to broaden your horizon and go in your own way and heal from some of that pain, it may require going off grid and leaving a major dense population center. So I'm going to talk with you, perhaps the first man that's ever talked with some of you that are males, that are becoming men. And I think that you need to be exposed to information about how the city feminizes you, including your exposure to certain chemicals that you are not voluntarily putting in your body. That includes things that are in the air. That includes things that you touch. That includes many things. And of course, if you're just putting things in your body and not knowing where that food comes from and just being a product of your environment, you are what you eat. And with the hormonal manipulation going on today with the cattle, there is an effect on us. And when I look at men today, I see something very different, a different kind of a man than the one 50 years ago. And I wonder where this is going. And the same thing with females. It's almost as if it's difficult to put my finger on it. It's like some humans are like a watered down version of what they once were. And there is disinformation in your society regarding white genocide. You know, there are people of color that have been suffering as well from relationship issue. And developing a mindset that the world is out to get you if you identify with white is the biggest way to continue to dig yourself a hole into the ground regarding self-pity. Because see, here I've been on my other end of the spectrum, as we talked about in other podcasts, in my own little world of pain regarding how I feel rejected by being a brown or olive skin face. So it's like we're both going through something very similar, and we're programmed by the delusions of this world to think that the other person has it better, without realizing that this social engineering is affecting a lot of people, and it's affecting a lot of women. How many women, by the way, just to jump topics here, would be willing to live off-grid without a typical shower and without the amenities of the grid? Running water. Running water. I'll also say that by eating certain foods or not eating certain foods and living at certain elevations, I think that it's a cleaner way of life than living in a city or, say, a lower elevation, dense population center. Portland, Oregon, where I was born, fits that bill. And so I can actually notice how my health and other things, it seems far better at this elevation, and my lungs getting used to breathing the air with this amount of oxygen, and how much more I have to work if, say, I'm doing some training or exercise, and knowing that there are athletes, Olympic gold athletes that have traveled to Colorado, for example, in preparation for the Great Games, in addition to, regardless of our feelings about the military, special ops training and other forms of survivalist training that has taken place in various aspects of southern Colorado and other parts of Colorado as well. And of course, there's other places. And so, when I went on this journey of evolving beyond the same type of relationships, it dovetailed with going off grid, and it dovetailed with other things. And it really kicked off for me in 2012, 2013. I've talked in other podcasts, so I believe that we've gone through a shift around that time period, not necessarily for the better. You could even say the opposite of what the New Agers predicted. More like, a mind virus invasion, if you will. as opposed to a collective shift in consciousness. So I saw this mirroring in today's woman, the increase in shallowness. And even recounting experiences where I feel like some women that I was involved with in Portland more or less used me for my body and didn't really have any interest in my activism. And also seeing an increased level of mental illness in those that did seek me out. Now, I want to say that a man going his own way is not necessarily the same thing as being a rabbi or a priest or someone being 100% abstinent. Last time I had sex was a few days ago. And I'm actually going to start being a bit more open. I am kind of occasionally hanging out with someone that has visited every few months. And so, I'm not going to, sit here and go into drama. I can look at a situation and go, hey, here's a situation where neither of us is coming into this with codependency. And we're hanging out periodically, but maybe that's as far as it should go. Maybe this is as far as it should go. And so, I may see signs for, well, this is why I stay alone or remain alone. And it is safer. I am a controversial person. So someone like me should be very careful, for example, in situations where people come and visit. It's not exactly like I'm in a city, and it's not exactly like we're going to meet up for Thai food. So I would say that it's been at least a few years since I've been seeking or in the dating scene. And really drop off in activity since 2012. Now, in 2012, I was living in Dallas, Texas. This is after I left Portland. So I dated a few people in Dallas, or Dallas women, after dating Portland women. And that was a very fast experience as well. Similar but different types of women, but based on a lot of the same illusions. Probably a little bit more devoid in Dallas of consciousness, the women there, even more superficial and materialistic, less interested in the truth or activism or assisting a man in some way. With getting the word out, there's always been for me doing what I'm doing, what I've looked for in a woman has been obviously very different than same what most of you probably have looked for in a woman. Like, for example, if you're not already creating content, wouldn't it make much sense for you to be looking for, a woman that's attractive, that's somewhat within a few years of you, with this physical chemistry, but you're working together to get the word out. With someone that respects you and accepts you for you, which thus makes them much more attractive tenfold. So I really haven't asked for much, it could be argued. So I've learned a lot about how backwards this world is through my personal experience and knowing what my own intentions are. And knowing that I don't have intentions and have never had intentions to play the game, but as an activist hosting something called Outside the Box TV, which you can find out what that is and check out my website and go, oh, okay, the dude's just been looking for someone to accept him for him, which someone with also chemistry. There's been people that have come out of the woodwork in attempting to contact me. And this isn't a direct attack on anyone in particular, but a lot of women do suffer from this delusion that if you talk about one, you're talking about them all. It's like a collective hive mind consciousness that I actually warn people against getting involved in. Because I certainly don't associate with the actions of men that are running around serving the military, killing innocent people. Or the men that are acting like they're men, or the males, rather, in security uniforms or police uniforms that are pushing people around, that are extorting people or, kicking people off their land. I don't associate with those men. I criticize them all the time. And so we still tend to run up. I don't know whether it's getting better or worse, but I noticed this a few years ago when I got involved in my MGTOW commentary. A lot of women get defensive regarding this because they act like, well, if you're criticizing one, you're criticizing them all, and they'll be real quick to defend someone that they don't even know, and they'll get involved in the gender warfare. If you're getting defensive, maybe there's something said that does actually apply to you. Investigate that. Redirect your focus and your finger pointing to that which is activated your emotional reaction. So, the long-term consequence of good, decent men with values that have been rejected by today's day and age is major urban areas filled with men that won't stand up and defend those women when they're hurt, or if there's an invasion, or men that are champion the causes that need to be discussed even if they're controversial on the local level. You're going to have people that fall to their left or right, men that find social acceptance with people that have similar political ideologies, but for the true independent male who can't be put into a box, who's outside the box, who's truly independent. For example, the kind of society that really you should want to see in your leaders, as long as you're going to have a system where people being elected, you should want incredibly independent minded and idealistic, positive, forward thinkers elected on the local level or state level or national level. You should want that. Society should want that. And supposed intuitive women should be able to tell when it's genuine or whether it's fake. And I think that women like Eve Lorgan have done a lot of groundbreaking research that other women should take note of. When she talks about the love bite or dark cupid, she talks about women being put, and men, into a spell. And she does draw links with alien abductions in my lab. But some people aren't able for that information. But people do end up in spells, and I've noticed this as well, love bites, to where they're attracted to the wrong people and turned off by the right people. So there also seems to be, whether some of you are ready for that or not, other weird shit going on this planet. I think that we've seen a shift in consciousness in our society, and I don't think it's for the better. And I think that you can learn a lot from the New Age movement and the New Age channeling, because it seems that these are not benevolent spirits, but there does seem to be a coordination with the channels, many of them female, many of them purporting to be goddesses now and ascended or awakening masters. And I'm asking them, then where is your protest against the millions dead in Iraq and Afghanistan? Show me, send me a link. Because if you are unable to, you're showing me that you aren't ascended and you have succumbed to the illusion of separation based on race and geography. Well, those people aren't us. That's not our karma. That's negative. Let's just focus on ascending up to the spacecraft and not worried about those left behind, because that's their karma. You may think that what I just described is a subculture in America. You may not know the reality that this is mainstream thought that has actually traveled with us from the 70s and the 80s into the 90s. And so we have many ways in which people are duped on the political sense, which you see in our day and age. All this blind, like, demigod worship and, oh, Clinton is the only devil on the planet. Donald Trump will save us, instead of realizing those people are probably fucking. I mean, get real. Have you not seen the pictures of 10 of them together? Oh, you have a program response for why there's so many photos of Trump and Hillary. Good luck with that, sunshine. You see, all this is cognitive impairment. You have obvious reasons and indicators regarding the system's corruption, and that's on a highway to hell. And what's going on with society and our women and our men. What was it that Chris Rock said? You got to keep women off the poles and our boys off the pipe. It's like, that was prophecy, ladies and gentlemen. If only people heeded that warning. And the reality is, a lot of people have it. So there are aspects of men and women that are going to go their own way. And it's been this way for thousands of years, and some people become monks or nuns. This MGTOW thing is an arbitrary name. First time I actually heard the term MGTOW, it was a guy that was married. I don't really, want to bring up his YouTube handle. He disappeared himself from YouTube, put out a lot of mixed messages. Some very pro off-grid, some very anti off-grid, and a lot of conflicting messages. It was like he was arguing with himself. Okay, his name's G for T. And so I started looking into the subject. I also came across other psychopaths like Steve Hoka that developed very unhealthy, you could even call it homoerotic, obsessions with my content and the things that I talk about and my lifestyle, including where I live. So I've seen that there's like a mentally ill crowd that runs with MGTOW. And for the most part, you would think that it would be women hating on me or trolling me. And even though I'm discussing issues regarding male-female relationships in this new world order, the trolls, and I just need to bring this up in every MGTOW video, have been MGTOW men angry that I'm presenting a conspiratorial view, i.e. social engineering, combined with a spiritual view and not demonizing all women. They will attack me for bringing up the fact that many of these women are programmed, but it's not their true nature. Their true nature is good. Our true nature is good, but it's the programming of this culture that's caused a destabilization. That somehow brings out their ire, their anger. They're being exposed to ideas they weren't expecting to see. And so I picture a lot of these men as being urban men. I don't picture them as being off-grid men that are like cutting their own wood, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. It's not about being 100% self-sufficient. It's about getting out of those environments that obviously have become judgmental towards, and especially the aging male over the younger male. Tell you what, there's some advantages to being a younger male in today's day and age, where an older male who may already be homeless is going to, especially in an area like Portland, is going to have a harder time getting a leg up. See, what they want to do is get the men and get the others and the women, just say you're disabled, and then the government, big government that we built for you, will give you a check every month. Believe it or not, the system wants to do that. And the system does not reward, I'll be brief on this, the men that are willing to pick themselves up. If they were, they would have some sort of and I've talked about this before, warehouse, Portland, Oregon, something to that effect, to where they can build something with their hands and they can run a website. And they can make money off of selling those things that they built. Why have prisoners make jeans when homeless men that have been discarded by today's women or their family or society that's preferring the young hot body as a employee, just simply out of tribalism and being primal and thinking with your small head instead of your big head. A lot of male managers that I've met in the restaurant industry, working over 10 years in the restaurants, love to be in a position to where they have the juicy around them, in front of them, even interacting with their aura. Yes, we have auras. We have magnetic fields. We feel certain vibes. And then some people, even in a non-sexual sense, whether they be male or female, enjoy the company of many women around them. And if they're in the smallest position of being able to tell them what to do, it's getting them off, her and him. It's in a way getting off a part of their brain. And as they say, it's in the brain where you find the largest sexual organ. It's not the actual genitalia. It is the brain. So there are aspects of the human brain, both male and female, that enjoys being in a state of authority or archon or command over hot bodies. There's a sense of power because they know the value that holds to society. So if you're in a position to where you're delegating the actions, the duties, people literally bending over, whether you're looking at their ass or just simply telling them, okay, now here's how you bring up an order, okay, tap, 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 as that manager tells that lady, she's in a position now of authority. She's somebody now. So we see the world of middle management. We also see the world of police, rules, regulations, codes, and then that whole connection to archons and sociopaths, psychopaths. It's a psychopath, sociopathic society that lusts for the headless female corpse. I say headless because you see these ads, Coors Light and others. Where's the female head? You see these mannequins, male as well. Where's the head? The focus isn't on the head. The focus isn't on consciousness. The focus isn't on spirit. The focus is on flesh. And now, in this day and age of hysteria regarding a less white world, you're going to have preferences for white women that are hot and young over every other human. This also creates an imbalance. And it doesn't create happiness for the people that live in those areas. It certainly doesn't make those young, hot, white chicks in the city. Hot child in the city. Dun, 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 dun. When you have later human trafficking epidemic and they're considered higher value, then they're less safe. If they have an inflated value and then something tips to where there isn't easy access to money and there are criminal gangs that are going after certain types of groups, or certain kinds of women that are considered more preferable, more desirable, say women that very sick elitists would actually pay $1 million for. So then you think about, how much of that million could be spent to the actual crew to go out and get her? $100,000? $150,000? And how could the cartel at one point be working for the Chinese? And see, that now connects us with my other podcasts. And you're going to have to listen to my World War III Human Trafficking Warning Epidemic podcast for more information. So really, I'm bringing you information that no man has brought to you. Look at this social engineering, yes. Destabilization. The good men leaving the city, going off grid, and the men left weak, feminized, going along to get along, getting involved in this far left and far right Nonsense. Far right being pro-Trump, far left being, the anti-Trump protests, and everything's just getting involved in that paradigm is no bueno. It's not a sign of being a strong, intelligent, independently thinking male. The males that are getting involved in this left-right paradigm, Sanders, Clinton, Trump, they are the ones that fall under control. Rules and regulation. They will bow down to authority, step back from those men. Eliminate those voters the last election for the primary candidates from your friends list. They are destabilizing forces in your world. They are bowing down and they are bending over. They are spreading it. They are taking it. Don't take it with them. As they insult you and call you a libtard, as they spread their cheeks for the Donald's goldenrod, step back from those deceived by the dark ones amongst us. We certainly never talk about race when we talk about the dark ones amongst us. We talk in terms of the spirit being corrupted. So we see a connection with men throughout time with a backpack without material items, going places where there are no showers unless you bathe in the river or create your own shower, to where you only have the things that you need and you don't have an array of bathroom items and toilet paper here and oddities here and colognes here. You smell like a man, you sweat like a man, you live like a man, you eat like a man, you die like a man. So you have all these other people that are becoming neutered, men and women. Their titties and balls clipped, if you will. Circumcised. Ooh, what a horrible thought. But is their energy, is their masculine and feminine energy circumcised in adulthood? Has it created like deformities in their aura? Do they seem like brave men and women that are able to actually go out and live outside the system for several weeks? No, they come across as very dependent. They come across as those people, if there are people that will die in the event of a solar flare if the grid goes down, well, let's see, there are people that are actually already prepared to live an alternative way of life and are already doing it, and there are those that are hanging on to their apartment. They're hanging on to that power in the grid. They're hanging on to this old world, and they're not realizing the harm that they're doing to themselves. So a lot of men right now need to free themselves, especially those that are disenfranchised and feeling rejected by the women of today's day and age. You need to move on with it. If you're going to stay there just digging a hole of sorrow, you're heading towards disease of the mind, body and spirit. And what kind of way is that to go out? So the whole purpose of the awakening, that you're more than just another little horn dog and the stereotype that's been told to you your entire life, and a man that needs a woman, and a man that's looked favorably upon when a trophy wife. Look at these terms of this sick world that you achieve by playing the game, and then you have these men that learn how to play games with the women to keep them in line, because some women want a man who's dominant, so they will realize they got to be dominant up to a point just to keep her around, as they know that nice guys finish last. That wasn't something that somebody on crack just started like, nice guys finish last. No, that is a timeless reality of the physical laws, if you will, of this universe. It is true, and I will testify to that. And there are women that will come and, no, that's not actually how it is, Alex. No, that's not true. That's why there's 90% male watching this channel. And I'll say by far male support also for the content on this channel. I, unlike other commentators, have actually given advice to the women of tomorrow's day and age, for those that are going to remain in the city and remain addicted to the cell phones, thinking that replacement for your male protector is going to work. Discussing things like, well, what if there's an EMP? What if the grid goes down? What if it's natural? What if it's not something that's controlled by man, that's bigger? I mean, you hear about all these other vulnerabilities. What makes you think that you really are going to ascend into the spacecraft when these things come to manifest? So, unlike other men, I come with a warning for the women of tomorrow's age. And maybe the women of tomorrow actually heed my warning. It won't be so sci-fi. But I can assure you that the ones of today have discarded my warnings and have not worked to also get out the message. It's almost as if it's shocking to them. But when you have good men leaving the cities in mass exodus, and you have things set up for the women to replace the men in the workplaces, and so the demographics say, we use Portland as an example, a place that I escaped from Portland, the movie that was never made but probably should, as a template, and you should study my past videos on Portland. Go back in the playlist, watch the Portlandia series, and you'll get a deeper analysis and why I use this as a micro for the macro, even if Portland sounds just like where you live in Stockholm. Is it Sweden? And I believe that I had listeners when I was in Portland in Europe that were telling me, Alex, we hear what you're saying, and you're describing what's happening here in Europe. So this isn't isolated just to the West Coast or to leftist cities. I'd like to see some, major cities that I guess are on the right, and see something different. I don't think you would. It's a lot of the same games, the same worship of the flesh, the same type of race baiting, classism. Then, of course, we look at things like Costilla County in southern Colorado, and then we see how people that chose to go off grid weren't even supported by the other Americans once they lost their rights, or were told they had no rights to live on their property without a septic. And so in that situation, a man such as myself or others, it's not just going your own way, away from seeking, new relationships and things of that nature, women, but going your own way away from society, seeing how society left aspects of their own society hanging. So I've been stepping back not only from the love of certain women, but the love of certain people and geographies. It's a bigger concept. It's about freeing yourself from a lot of things. Not to mention freeing yourself from falling into anything such as external saviorship theology. Oh, you're going to be saved by Jesus. You can have a belief in Jesus, but Jesus isn't going to fix your problems for you. You can have certain spiritual beliefs, but then getting into reading about Ashtar Command, the Galactic Federation of Light, counterfeit spiritual deities, more than likely spiritual parasites, also known as the Archons. People get co-opted by that stuff in the channeling movement and thinking that the Greys are good. And there literally is a mass mental illness movement, that the aliens are good and benevolent and they are our saviors. And it is coming. And that's why this is a core part of the channel. There was actually somebody suggesting, Alex, you should do a video or podcast. What do I do when my girlfriend or wife, or you can even say mother, starts channeling Ashtar or the Galactic Federation of Light or Archangel Michael? Answer, run like hell. Cue the song from Pink Floyd, literally. Aerosmith, maybe. Janie's got a gun. Run away from the pain. Yeah. You don't have no time for that. You don't have no time for that. You want to distance yourself from people that are bringing in alien extraterrestrial energy. I'll tell you what, those energies are not benevolent. They love to cause chaos and break up relationships and sabotage plans because of the pain that it causes. The host being parasited on, that could be you. Begging your wife, please. Begging your girlfriend, please. Don't you see the writing on the wall as I do? We need to get out of the city. We need to stop living in the target zone. Look at the situation that we're being set up for. Why remain? Hypothetically, you could be saying, if we've had both the prophetic dreams of our cities coming under attack, why do we sit here and remain and just say, well, we'll do it next year and we'll just save a little bit more money? What is wrong with us? I'll tell you what, there is something wrong. You're sitting there waiting, you see the writing on the wall, and you're going to wait for someone else who's going to hold you down. Realize if there ever is a full shit hitting the fan situation, especially if your girlfriend's hot, she's going to be a target. Are you prepared to defend her? Okay, are you prepared to defend her against one guy? Yes or no? Because some of you know that you're not in any state at all to be defending anyone. If you know that, and you know there might be some negative karma that you have accrued or she has accrued, and maybe you're not of the insight to know that you've wronged, harmed, killed, or oppressed, or enslaved others. You may not believe that there is such a thing as karma. How unfortunate for you. You always get more than what you bargained for when you click on an Alex Ansari podcast. Subscribe today for other things you are not expecting that will pop up in the YouTube subscriber list, featuring titles you never even thought and questions you never thought to ask, let alone answer. Welcome to Ansari's Answers. Have a seat. The darker her karma is, and the prettier she is, and the younger she is, the more a target she will be. Before thinking with your little head, think about the collective sum total of the karma between you and her. And don't get into this rescue attitude that you're just going to intervene in her karma and fix all her problems. When she's in distress and she's looking for someone to come and see, the psychology with a lot of women in survival mode changes really quickly during a disaster. And there literally could be a situation where there's like 10 of them or 15 of them going after the same male to protect them, that they kept in the back of their head, if it ever went south, they know which one they feel secure with. Can you imagine a situation where a guy's like dating multiple women at once, and he's like living off the grid, and he's been working each one of them individually, and they'll show up one day, like all 15, like, feed me, protect me. It's, and they've got dirt on their face, and perhaps some have already been raped, or something almost happened to them, or they heard about things happening in the city that was just nuked when the gangs came in, and they raped, and they pillaged, and they sold what they took into their possession. They're traumatized. Help me. Please help me. I understand we're under attack now. And see, is that man going to be able to help 10 to 15 of them? And so for the men that are able to see the writing on the wall, you need to become less involved with the women of today's day and age, unless they show you that they love you. Otherwise, they can come in and they can sabotage and take everything you have and suck you dry. Literally and figuratively, as oddly as that works. Remember, that which takes energy from your actual body can actually merge with your energy. And if they are playing host to a parasite, that's the easiest way to bring psychic attack into your world, especially if you're there to do good. And I speak from experience, from those few that have come around or have tried to create some sort of drama or insult me in some way to create emotional turmoil within myself. I actually made a video recently about a Maria, who was an ex-girlfriend, who, not even long-term, she came and visited from Australia. And so, when I went the off-grid path, it's like, well, why are you homeless? You come with like a new age tone, like you create your reality. And probably a little bit of judgment when, I'm discussing the real Portlandia. I'm like, well, I like Portland, it's Australia. And then you just get that attitude. And then it's really easy, as someone becomes more intuitive, in a world now where I think there are some men becoming more intuitive, but the sexism from some of the women involved in the new age bullshit doesn't want to hear another perspective on the earth changes, on the sun, on the upcoming world war. They're sent into these different directions, and I've seen a lot of my projections come true over and over and over and over again. Therefore, I'm aware of how many have recognized that. And even in hindsight, now you have actual past predictions that have come to fruition, including predicting Donald Trump and the role that he'll play in instigating World War III with China, and then this being something that steps up to something else, leading the way for the next candidate, more than likely Donald Trump, a 4-year presidency after the 2020s. Events moving in a certain direction, the United States attacking perhaps another country like Iran or another, killing, say, another million people, the whole world turning against the United States, and really a bystander effect taking place when women are victimized, after we've seen the bystander effect from even the women in today's society when women have been victimized in other countries, Afghanistan, Iraq, other Middle Eastern countries, to where there's boots on the ground and people are being droned and the lives of women and their children are literally up in ashes. That's horrible. So there is a great evil coming to this nation. And there are many men that in the next few years, they have a decision to make. If you are one of the few men that actually sees the writing on the wall and not just an angry MGTOW guy who is upset because you're not getting laid and you're believing the Paul Joseph Watson, Alex Jones bullshit, the Muslims are getting the women. See, this is the mind control that's there to drive them into mental insanity. They've never seen it. It's not happening in their town, but they read about it, on the internet. Yes, they read about it on the internet. And they don't realize that they're on the dark web. And by the way, they'll cry about white genocide, and I will bring to their attention Costilla County, where actual white off-gridders are being kicked off their land by a racist, corrupt Hispanic government with potential ties to the cartel or other groups. They got their land initially from a Spanish land grant, but they want to harass people that they later sold parcels of land to and say, if you don't have a septic, you got to get off. But they target certain people. So you have people that are all pumped up about this stuff and the racial stuff. I actually have something for you to sink your teeth into. These people are being prevented from living on their own land because of this racism and classism. Donald Trump won't come to your aid, but Alex Yancey, myself, will bring this to your attention. So as I said in a recent podcast, bystander effect, that's what all this is about. And so you have angry MGTOW men that'll scream about this and will scream about black men and Hispanics, and they'll just bring out their white supremacist side. But they won't actually get behind off-gridders kicked off their own land in Costilla County. As much as they want to scream about white genocide, they, Alex Jones, Paul Watson, don't have the time for the off-gridders because it's not sensational enough. And there's actually a solution in that. There's actually a solution in that, and taking on a local county, which is separate from the federal government, holding their feet to the fire and exposing them. Why not go after a fight when it's about freedom? And it's not just this big monster of federal government, it's just a few federal officials. Why are the so-called white superior race Aryan nation folks unable to organize ACLU property rights organizations? If you have one, leave it below in the comment section. I think they need to know about Costilla County, but I'm pretty sure no one's doing anything. And so, for those of you that are on a MGTOW path, there's a lot amongst you and a lot of crap on YouTube, which is just simply playing a part in the gender war. And there will be people like Morning Mayan that will accuse me of playing a part in the gender war without even realizing that I'm not. That I will discuss the programming of today's woman, especially urban woman, or any woman that's connected closely with the cell phone. There's something hypnotic taking place, something about the constant staring of the light, the psychic linking or cordage to the text message system, and the transhumanistic behaviors that sprout about from such behavior. How does a non-materialistic off-grid man, not male, but one has become a man, that can actually, survive overnight without having his heater on, which I can. You think my heater's on all night long? It's mostly on during the day. It gets too hot if I leave it on. It's a waste of fuel. Why not just go to sleep for 5 hours, wake up cold, turn the heat back on, warm back up, fall back asleep? That's how I roll, yo. That's how I live. You think most women would ever live like that? So it's about the fact this grid and the system has spoiled people to the degree that which they think keeps them safe now is the very thing that's going to endanger them tomorrow. My advice is for those men to start making their preparations. Stop expecting or hoping your girlfriend or wife to come with you. Create a timetable. Say the next year or 2 years. You're going to get out of Dodge and you're going to go your own way, and perhaps you're going to live in a vehicle and be a limb land if you don't have your own land yet, and maybe you'll adapt to something like that in a high gas mileage vehicle, and maybe you'll work from your computer before the grid goes down. Maybe you'll create a website. You'll create a way to make money off residual sales. You'll start working on it now. But see, it's going to come down to you. You need to do what you need to do for your own survival. You can't help her anymore. If there's going to be a situation where someone's going to stay somewhere because of family or whatnot, and those family aren't coming with, that's what you call wait. In some cases, hey, you know what? Stay with your mother. Stay with your father. If there's a close connection between a parent and a son or daughter. Maintain that connection and don't be afraid. Stay with them until the end. Or your partner if they're bedridden. But if this is some sort of like power play, and this person doesn't know if they're ready for a different way of life, if they really love you, because you really don't want to be with people that don't love you at this point, she will let you have your freedom. If she will not let you have your freedom, there is a major power play. If she is not able to survive in the city on her own, she's living off your resources. And so if she's living off your resources and disrespecting you and the path that you want to take, those are clear signs, dude, that you need to cut your losses and go in order to survive yourself and not lose what you've got and what you've built for, what you've worked up, what you've developed, what you've earned. I'm going to end it here, 38 minutes in. So this has been Answers, the connection between MGTOW and the off-grid movement.